The world is teetering on the edge of a precipice. As tensions grow across multiple regions, the question is no longer whether a global conflict could erupt, but how and when. From nuclear standoffs to proxy wars fought in cyberspace, the stage is set for a catastrophic escalation. While the world hasn't yet entered World War III, the conditions are undeniably dangerous and volatile, with every wrong move potentially spiraling into an all-out global conflict. Let's take a deeper dive into the rising global tensions, the multipolar world, and the advanced technologies that make war more likely than ever before. 1. The Flashpoints, a world on fire. 1. Russia-Ukraine, the spark that could ignite Europe. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the world has found itself once again staring down the barrel of war. Europe's worst conflict since World War II is no longer just about Ukraine, it as a proxy war between Russia and the West. NATO's involvement, including weapons supply, intelligence support, and sanctions, has escalated the situation to the point where even the slightest miscalculation could ignite a broader war, potentially dragging in countries that haven't fired a shot yet. But it doesn't stop there. If NATO invokes Article 5, the Collective Defense Clause, any attack on a NATO member could trigger a world war. Imagine a missile striking Poland by mistake. One false move could trigger an explosion that shakes the entire planet. 2. China and Taiwan. The Flashpoint in the Pacific China views Taiwan as its province, and it's only a matter of time before the simmering tensions explode. Taiwan isn't just a regional issue, it's a potential global crisis. The United States, while following a One China policy, supports Taiwan militarily and diplomatically. If China launches a full-scale invasion of Taiwan, the U.S. could be drawn into direct conflict, not only with China but also with other global powers like Japan, India, and Australia. A China-Taiwan war would quickly spiral into the largest military conflict in Asia, shifting the entire balance of global power. 3. Middle East, Iran, Israel, and the powder keg. In the Middle East, the long-standing Israel-Iran conflict has just reached a new level of danger. Israel's strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, Iran's support for militias in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, and the rise of Iranian-backed proxies across the region mean that a full-blown regional war could start at any moment. The involvement of superpowers like the US and Russia, both strategically aligned with different factions, increases the risk that a local conflict could explode into a full-blown global war. Add in the role of nuclear weapons, and the consequences are unimaginable. One wrong move could see the entire region engulfed in flames, and the world would be dragged into it. 4. North Korea. The wild card. North Korea has long been a ticking time bomb. With its repeated missile tests and ongoing nuclear weapons development, the risk of a North Korean miscalculation is ever present. If North Korea were to attack South Korea, or even launch a nuclear strike, the US and its allies would have no choice but to respond. The North Korea crisis could spread far beyond the Korean peninsula and could draw in China, Russia, and the US in an all-out war. 2. The India-Pakistan powder keg, the nuclear flashpoint in South Asia. In the shadows of these global crises, South Asia presents one of the most dangerous nuclear-armed rivalries. The conflict between India and Pakistan has been simmering for decades, but recent developments make it more explosive than ever. The Kashmir issue, terrorism, cross-border skirmishes, and the rise of nationalist governments have made the region a nuclear tinderbox. The world watched in shock as India's airstrikes on Balakot in 2019 escalated tensions to a point where war seemed imminent. Both countries possess nuclear weapons, and any full-scale conflict would have devastating global consequences. A limited nuclear exchange could spiral into global conflict, not only destroying South Asia but triggering a global economic meltdown. Pakistan's alliance with China and India's partnership with the US place the conflict at the crossroads of global powers. A war between these nuclear-armed nations could easily pull in China and the US, resulting in the kind of global disaster the world has desperately tried to avoid since the Cold War. 3. The new multipolar world, a ticking time bomb of conflict. The global order of the US and the Soviet Union has been replaced by a multipolar world of competing powers. Countries like China, Russia, India, Iran, and even regional players like Turkey and Brazil each pursue their own interests. The tension between these powers increases daily as they clash over trade, territorial disputes, and global influence. 1. China is rapidly expanding its influence, challenging the US both economically and militarily. 2. Russia has aligned itself more closely with China while also engaging in regional wars and creating proxy conflicts. 3. The US remains engaged in the Middle East and Asia-Pacific, but faces rising pressure from China, Russia, and increasingly assertive nations like India. The lack of global cooperation and the fragmented power structures mean that conflicts can spread like wildfire. With fewer neutral mediators and rising nationalism, the chances of diplomacy succeeding decrease. One miscalculation, a cyberattack, a trade dispute, or a military confrontation could trigger a global war that no one saw coming. 4. Technology and war. The fuse is shorter than ever. In today's world, technology both accelerates conflict and makes war more likely. Cyber warfare is a new kind of battlefield where nations can launch attacks on each other's power grids, banking systems, and communications infrastructure without firing a single shot. The risk of miscalculation in cyberspace is high, as attacks can be mistaken for acts of war. Artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons make the situation even more precarious. Drones, self-learning weapons, and AI-driven military strategies could take human decision-making out of the equation, allowing machines to escalate conflicts beyond human control. And let's not forget nuclear weapons, a force powerful enough to wipe out entire cities. With more countries acquiring nuclear capabilities, the risk of nuclear war remains one of the most terrifying possibilities. 5. The path to global conflict. A game of miscalculations. While World War III is not inevitable, the path to war has never been more fragile. The presence of nuclear weapons, rising nationalism, and regional flashpoints, combined with emerging technologies, create a perfect storm for conflict. One misstep, one diplomatic breakdown, one spark in one of these hot zones could set the world on fire. The multipolar world, with its complex web of alliances, rivalries, and power struggles, is a ticking time bomb. If history has taught us anything, it's that the most dangerous wars are often the ones no one saw coming. Conclusion: the world on the edge. The world is not yet at war, but it is walking the thin line between peace and global conflict. The India-Pakistan flashpoint, the escalating US-China tensions. Russia's unpredictability and the growing role of emerging technologies mean that the world is at the brink of something much more catastrophic than anything we see witnessed in the modern age. The question isn't whether World War III is coming, it is how close we are to the breaking point and whether the world can avoid disaster before it's too late.